In 1977, a civil war began in Mozambique. For 15 years, it was a conflict that consumed the nation, but it also consumed something else. In Gorongosa National Park, a vast wilderness once called the place where Noah left his ark, the elephant population stood at over 2,500. Soldiers from both sides, desperate for funds and food, turned to a source of wealth that walked on four legs: ivory. By the time the war ended in 1992, over 90% of Gorongosa's elephants were gone, a massacre driven by the value of their tusks. The survivors, however, were peculiar. Biologists returning to the recovering park noticed something statistically impossible. Before the war, tusklessness in female African elephants was a rare trait, seen in maybe 2 to 4% of the population. But in the generation of females born after the war, a full 33% were born without tusks. It wasn't an injury or a developmental fluke. It was a profound, inherited change. The population had been put through an intense selective filter. The single trait that made an elephant a target was a tusk. So for 15 years, having tusks was effectively a death sentence. This is evolution, happening at a speed we can watch. To understand it, you have to understand what a tusk even is. It isn't a horn. It's a massively overgrown upper incisor tooth made of dentin, rooted deep within the skull. Its development is controlled by genetics. By analyzing the genomes of both tusked and tuskless elephants, scientists pinpointed the likely cause. The change is linked to the X chromosome, the same sex chromosome found in humans. Specifically, two genes appear to be involved: MLX, which governs enamel formation, and MEP1A, involved in tooth development. A disruption here doesn't just stop tusks, it erases them. But why were only females being born tuskless? Where were the tuskless males? The answer is chilling. Because the mutation occurs on the X chromosome, a female who has two X chromosomes, XX, can have one mutated copy and one normal copy, allowing her to survive and be born without tusks. A male, however, has only one X chromosome, XY. If his single X carries this mutation, it appears to be lethal. The genetic change is so disruptive that male embryos with it likely don't survive gestation. There are no tuskless males because the very gene that saves a female from poachers kills her son before he is even born. This process, where human activity drives evolutionary change, is called anthropogenic selection, and it is happening everywhere. On the mountains of North America, trophy hunting has led to bighorn sheep with smaller horns because rams with large, impressive horns are the first to be shot. In the Atlantic, industrial fishing that targets large cod has created populations that mature faster and at a smaller size, slipping through the nets. Even in cities, cliff swallows living near highways are evolving shorter wings, making them more agile at dodging traffic. We rarely see ourselves as a force of natural selection, but we are perhaps the most powerful one on the planet today. So an elephant without tusks survives. Problem solved, right? But what does it mean for the world around them? Elephants are keystone species, ecosystem engineers. They use their tusks as tools. They dig for water in dry riverbeds, creating oases that other animals depend on. They strip bark from trees, clearing pathways and transforming woodland into grassland. They use them for defense against predators and for leverage when moving obstacles. A tuskless elephant is a different kind of elephant. It interacts with its environment differently. An entire landscape that co-evolved with tusked giants must now adapt to their absence. This rapid adaptation is a testament to life's resilience, but it could also be an evolutionary trap. The traits that offer a short-term survival advantage might create long-term vulnerabilities. What happens when the poaching pressure subsides? The population now carries a gene that is lethal to half of its male offspring and alters fundamental behaviors. The very thing that saved them from us could become a new internal threat. We didn't just remove elephants, we fundamentally rewrote the rules of what it means to be a successful elephant in the 21st century. We forced a choice: your tusks or your lineage.
Monotony has grown fast. Nearly 2,700 people have watched in the last few weeks, yet less than 0.03% are subscribed. It would mean a lot if you joined by hitting subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.